that song.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Episode 1061. Hello, it is Mike Matthews broadcasting from Cafe Anyway, located somewhere in Podcastro Valley, Mont. Today, it's Shelley Shoehart, Floyd the Floorman, John Deere the engineer, the news segment, Matthews News, where we'll find out something interesting about your furry, four-legged friend.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
And possibly addendum with Kevin, but I don't know. We'll see. There's possibilities.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Oh, there are lots of opportunities if you know how to take them, you know. This is a song about Corey Lewandowski. He's Trump's campaign manager who couldn't hurt a mousekie. He hurt a female journalist, which was not nice of him, but the journalist was not Katherine Timpf if he hurts her.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
I will break his arm off. She's a gentle little conservative angel that appears on Fox.
Mike's
She has her trademark
Daily
smirk and
Podcast.
glasses.
Yeah!
She's late 20s. I'm bad. But she's distracting when she's on the TV, that's for sure. Also distracting, the possibility that I could someday afford a Tesla. Tesla announced their new Model 3, not to be confused with the Model 4, which was the Ford thing that got to be the big automobile that everyone purchased when the automobile industry was in its infancy. Tesla is trying to do the same thing by offering a car up for $28,000. $28,000, that's with all the tax rebates and everything. I could get into that. Enough with the crumpling with the paper. Enough with the music and the sound effects. And the character voices. 1061, huh? That's how far I got. All right. That's pretty much it. I think I've been doing this show almost 5 years. I guess I could go all the way to 5 years, but I'm done. I'm so exhausted. The constant having to upload this, having to post it on several social media, getting a response like never from anyone, ever. And then people I work with that just get started podcasting, get emails from all over the world because they talk about sports. Whoop-de-dee. Yeah, no, that's it. Whatever I have, it's not enough to do a podcast with. I guess I'm just not podcast material. I don't know what kind of material I am. Maybe I'm paper. But I'm done. I'm not going to podcast anymore. This is the final Mike's Daily Podcast. You know, the title, people always get it wrong. Are you saying Mike's Daily Podcast? It's a what's Staley mean? It's Steely? Steely Dan? Let's see what happened to Steely Dan. They had a couple of hits and then broke up. Then they got back together. But then all the young people are like, look at those old guys. So, gotta go back, Jack. Do it again. I'm done. What am I gonna do next? I don't know. I don't care. I tried to make a podcast that was informative, that was fun, that was a little different, that was a little quirky, that on the whole was clean. But no, it doesn't seem to register. So, all right. Might as well not let this go any longer. The show went 5 minutes today. That's a record. So, thanks a lot. Thank you for listening to my podcast and being a great listener. And thank you for putting up with this April Fool's Day joke! Okay. Yeah, I was just joking. I'm going to keep doing this podcast until I'm dead! Oh, wow. Well, it was good to... Oh, look, I just walked in the cafe anyway. Hello, Mike Matthews. It's Shelly and Shoehart to get job supervisor. Oh my god, I thought I was almost out of a job. No, you're still here. Oh my god, Mike Matthews, I saw this really funny clip. It was from an Andy Samberg skit that he did on Saturday Night Live, where he shoots Bill Hader and then he gets shot by someone and then someone shoots that person. It's like so funny. That was a little inside joke towards Haley, because Haley showed me that clip and I thought it was the stupidest thing I ever saw. Look who else just walked in. Hello, Mike, it's Floyd the Floorman. And this is John Deere the engineer. Where's Haley? Haley's not here today. It's Haley's day off. Kevin was supposed to be on today's show. He's actually here, but because he was told he produces a show for a radio talk show host in the San Francisco area. The radio talk show host told him, hey, it's April Fool's Day. Let's do an April Fool's Day joke. Instead of having me on, let's have my friend on, who's also a talk show host, but have me on and say he's the new host of the show and we'll do different music than I usually do, etc. So Kevin did all this work to do the new show, and then the talk show host comes in today and says, no, we're scrubbing the whole thing. We're scrubbing it. We're not going to do it. And Kevin spent all this time working on it. Yeah. All this time was completely scrubbed because this person apparently is afraid of losing his job, even though he talks about all the time how he hates his job. So, like, that's the world. That's the world, to sum up. Tesla products cheaper. People that you work for jerk you around. That's the world. Mike pulls a April Fool's Day joke. So, whatever. But I do find that Katherine Timpf, or Kat Timpf, as she's called, is really pretty. She's blonde. She's got these glasses. She's a little too bony for me. You know what? I don't like these overly thin. I don't like these bobble-headed celebrities. That's my problem with her, though. And she's ultra-conservative, so I don't care for that either. But she calls herself a comedian. Apparently, she's done stand-up at two well-known stand-up places in Los Angeles and New York, so that makes her a comedian. So, all right. And so she's called a Fox commentator. So, maybe that's the joke. Fox commentator. It's an oxymoron. No, wait. They can commentate. They can commentate? Sure. They can... It just... I don't know. They're all morons over there. So what we have is this, what's his name? Lewandowski? Whatever, Trump's guy, pushing people around. He's a very, Corey Lewandowski. Apparently he got into politics because he wanted to be the guy that helps the underdog. He wants to help. He's always been on the campaigns of Republicans that were the ones that were favored to lose. So now here he's winning. Oh yeah, he also carries a gun around all the time. I don't know, this guy sounds like he could probably come unhinged and real problems could really happen. Like, he might end up shooting himself one day or something. I hope not, but just the way I read the tea leaves, as it were. No one's country. What I say? I think I'm gonna start talking about the website anyway. Oh yeah, I found a new website provider person, and I think that I'm gonna have the website for a long time, so I might as well keep doing the podcast for a long time. So mikesdailypodcast.com is where you can go to check out all the past podcast pictures that I've done, which I don't know what I'm gonna do for today. Oh, something scenery based. I'm working on that on the side as I'm doing this podcast. I'm multitasking. I'm podcasting and multitasking. Hey, Laney Handbags started following me on Instagram. Is it because they like my pictures? No, because they're trying to sell me something. I'm really done with getting the likes on Instagram from people that are just trying to sell me something. I'm gonna turn off that function that lets anybody like what I do, and I'm just going to keep it to my friends because that's annoying. Have you try that on Instagram? If you have a private profile, you're not noticing this, but if you have a public one like I do, because it's for Mike's Daily Podcast, that's where you can find the Instagram for Mike's Daily Podcast. Just type in Mike's Daily Podcast and I'll pop up. Annoying. Oh, yeah, there's a great sign that I saw that said no loitering after 7 p.m. in the wonderful town of Lynchburg, Tennessee, where they make the Jack Daniels wonderful whiskey. So you can see that picture. That'll be the podcast picture. Oh, we didn't drop in the sound.
And here's today's podcast picture.
That's the wonderful sound effect for that. Yeah, so then I had a very bizarre drive here today. I go from Podcaster Valley to Fremont every day for my job. And it was upon this drive that this morning, not only was there a bicyclist driving in the wrong direction on the street, and I almost hit and killed him. No loitering after 7 p.m. No bicycle riding on the wrong side of the road after 7 p.m. But so at 4:30 in the morning, this guy's riding the wrong way in the dark, no flashlight on his bike, no headlight, wrong way. I almost hit him. The guy didn't look awake. Okay, maybe he wasn't awake. We need Haley here to feel bad for everyone that I talk badly about. But yeah, that was the problem. But then a lady crossing the street on her cell phone, 4:30 in the morning, big lady, almost hit her, totally jaywalking. And then I go through a red light because I'm waiting forever at a light, and the cars going the other direction, they get to go. So I'm thinking, guess I get to go too. And I went right through the red light. Oops. Then, as I get into Fremont, there are two cars that look like they're racing, but they're kind of like trying to swerve into each other. That was weird. On the city streets of usually busy city streets of Fremont, but at this was like 4:50 in the morning, not quite so bad. That's about it. Mike'sDailyPodcast.com. Also, if you want to help us out, there's the Amazon link. Click on that link. Buy whatever it is you're going to buy on Amazon, and that will help us out. And there's the PayPal, too, if you'd like to donate and become a Mike's Daily Podcaster and get a special greeting from all the Cafe Anyway characters, like these guys. Why are you pointing at us? Yeah, Mike, why are you pointing? I hate the pointing. I really am dissatisfied with your pointing finger. Sorry, guys. It's not nice to point. And then also, if you would like to hear all the past interviews I've done, I may be interviewing a band next week. Looking forward to that. Woohoo. Mike'sDailyPodcast.com. Now, time for Matthew's News.
Matthew's News.
I need more light in Cafe Anyway. How am I supposed to read this in this darkness? So I'm going to try my best. This from the Daily Post from the peninsula side of the Bay Area. People who falsely pass off their pets as service animals. Think of the woman in Wisconsin who claimed the right to bring her kangaroo into McDonald's. Isn't that what they make McDonald's burgers out of, kangaroo? Hey, these are kangaroo burgers. They're delicious for you, mate. Have frustrated people with legitimate needs to such an extent that legislators in several states are considering laws to restore the animal's credibility. Legislatures in Maine, Virginia, Arizona, Hawaii, New York, and Puerto Rico are considering bills that would either establish such a program or penalize people, we need more light in here, who fraudulently claim to have service dogs. In Maine, a task force this month issued a service report that says well-meaning federal laws designated to protect people with disabilities have instead opened the door to fraud. The abuse and confusion are harming everyone, said Barbara Archer Hirsch, an attorney with the Maine Human Rights Commission and member of the task force. It's harming the landlords and it's harming the individuals who need their animals. Here's the dilemma. Under federal law, no paper are required for service dogs in public places. That's true. A friend of mine that does a beer festival, she says that people come into the festival all the time with their dogs, and she says, wait a minute, you can't bring a dog in here, and they're like, oh, it's a service dog. And she can't ask for papers. She just has to accept their word on it, and people take advantage of it. Under federal law, no papers are required for service dogs in public places. If people want to sneak their pampered chihuahua into a restaurant, they can simply lie and say it's a service dog trained to help them with their disability, which someday I might try to do with Basil, the boxer. Sean McDonough, 51, has a brain injury from a car accident and said he's noticed people who are increasingly skeptical that his 5-year-old golden doodle, Bruno, is a service dog. Aw, good golden doodles. They're kind of like those big, like poodles. That's the name Doodle, because it's a play on the word poodle. Bruno is trained to distract McDonough from stress triggers by pressing against him. Security officers at a courthouse tried to block Bruno at the door recently because of their encounter with a fraudulent service dog. The court people treated me badly because of what other people had done, he said. Imposters pose a problem for businesses and landlords because they fear legal action if they clamp down, said Donna Hodges, who owns 100 apartment units in Central Maine. She recalled a prospective tenant who claimed his rambunctious pit bull was a service dog. The dog was leaning out a car window and barking at her while its owner waved a framed, official-looking certificate identifying the dog as a service animal. She knew the certificate was a fake, she said, because federal law stipulates that service dogs don't need documentation. As we go outside a cafe anyway, we're bringing Mike's Daily Podcast somewhere in Podcastro Valley. And that paper's done.